sometimes I'm like on a roll and don't really want to stop what I'm working on. And so some things that I worked into my routine to kind of help with that and to get more active is Howdy everybody, my name is Kaylee. I am a recent graduate and a full-time copywriter for an ad agency in Houston, Texas. I post lifestyle vlogs, work from home vlogs, productivity tips, and little adventure vlogs when I have time with everything that I do. But today I just wanted to hop on and talk about some of the things that I've learned in my first month of working with Decode. So today I have 5 things that I have learned within my first 5 weeks. Today is the end of 5 weeks. Wow, I can't believe it's already been 5 weeks. Okay, but I have 5 things that I've learned in my first 5 weeks working for an advertising agency. But before I get into those 5 things, I kind of just want to talk about some things that I've learned about myself during these few weeks. Especially during the first week, these things became very obvious as I was working from home and was working like a set amount of hours each day, like straight through, and didn't really have like the schedule that I was used to where I was on for an hour or two and then I had like a big break like with in between classes or something. And also just with sitting on the couch all day. So one of the first things that I learned about myself is that I like to go to bed early. And I go to bed a lot earlier than I did in college. So like even when I would have like 8 a.m.s in college, I would still be able to stay up pretty easily until about midnight. Midnight has always typically been the time where I like cut off, my brain doesn't function anymore and I like need to go to sleep. But since starting work, especially during the first week, I noticed that I could barely make it past 10 p.m. Like especially on my second day, I'm pretty sure I was in bed before 10 p.m. I had developed a routine, still have that routine going, and part of that routine was being in bed by 10 p.m. because I just couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And that was a pretty big awakening to me, just how valuable my sleep was. When I'm doing things for an extended period of time, for a big chunk, for like a third of the day was dedicated to work. And that was a big wake-up call for me. Another thing that I learned about myself is that it's very important for me to get up and move, especially throughout the day with sitting on the couch and sitting in front of my computer the whole time. So some things that I worked into my routine to kind of help with that and to get more active is to go on a little walk/run every morning. I'll typically just do this Monday through Friday. I don't really do this routine on the weekends so I can let myself sleep in a little bit, but I will wake up a little bit early. I have to be logged on at 9, and so I'll wake up around 7:30. That way I can get out of the house and just walk around my neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods. And I'll typically walk for about a mile and then run for a little bit, just depending on how I'm feeling is how far I'll go, and then do a little cool down walk as I'm getting closer to my house. And so that really helps me just like feel active and feel like I'm ready to take on the day and feel a little bit more productive. And then also just like every hour I get the notifications on my watch that it's like time to stand if I haven't stood at all during that hour. And so I try my best to listen to those. Sometimes I'm like on a roll and don't really want to stop what I'm working on. But most of the time when those pop up, I'll like get up and just walk around, do a little bit of stretching before I sit back down and get back to my work. So now we're getting into the 5 things that I learned in my first 5 weeks of working with my first full-time job at an advertising agency. The first thing is to ask all the questions. A lot of us come into entry-level jobs and just want to seem impressive and like we have everything in our heads and like we know what we're doing. But guys, it's an entry-level job. We aren't supposed to know what we're doing. We aren't expected to know everything. So it's really important to ask those questions. Ask questions about your company, ask questions about your work, ask questions about everything. Ask your supervisor just anything that you want to know about them. They'll probably be more than happy to talk to you about anything. Second is to communicate everything. And by this, I mean just, especially when you're working from home and remotely, wherever you may be, if you're not in an office building, it's important to be communicative with your employer and let them know if you need to step away from your computer for like an appointment or something, or you need to go run an errand or help a friend real quick, like if an emergency happens. Just let them know that you're gonna be away from your computer for a little bit, and try and stay as like able to reach as possible. That way, in case something comes up and they need to talk to you about a project or a task that's being worked on, then you're able to be reached. It's just important to keep this up because they trust you enough to let you work from home and do, like, they think that you're responsible enough to do this. So it's just it's respectful to be communicative about what you have going on with your employer. Third is to make friends with your coworkers. These are the people that you spend the majority of your awake hours with. Be friends with them, share parts of your life with them, go on lunch dates with them, coffee dates. Just sit down and talk about non-work things sometime. So don't be afraid to open up and share some of these things. I know it can be a little scary to open up, especially for some of us introverts. And we don't typically like to be around people, but it's important to find like those 1 or 2 or 3 coworkers that you're like really close with and have a lot in common with, and that you just enjoy being around, and just get to know them, get to know their life, ask them questions too. Fourth is that I've learned some things about Chrome that have helped me to be more organized. One of those things is utilizing groups in my tabs and just keeping those going, those tabs grouped together. It's really cool. I've started using it this last week and I have really appreciated that, because sometimes I'll like be working on something that like requires me to have like 10 tabs open, but then I have to stop that and jump onto something that has a little bit more priority, but I don't necessarily want to close out all those tabs, so I can just like group them all together and close them down so it's just the one group's tab that has all of those tabs within them, and so I can just like open it back up whenever I want and get back to work on them without having to like reload all those tabs, and it's been super helpful. Another thing that is helpful when working in like an agency setting and kind of on like social media accounts is there's a people tab up in the little menu tab, in the little menu bar of Chrome, and you can create different people profiles and you can log in to different social media accounts for different people. So like, say I make a tab for Serena Williams, and I'm running Serena Williams Twitter and Instagram accounts, but I also need to have my Twitter and Instagram accounts, or like Nike's Twitter and Instagram accounts open. I can have a people tab for myself, a people tab for Nike, and a people tab for Serena, and every time I open up Serena's people tab, it'll have her accounts logged in and saved that information, so I don't have to retype in every password, and I know that I'm logged into the right person when I click on them. The fifth thing that I've learned is just a ton of information about healthcare and wellness. Decode works with a lot of wellness clients, and so I'm getting to learn a whole ton of things about just different healthcare related topics. And so yeah, a lot of the writing that I do focuses on different healthcare related things like neurological disorders, healthy tips, and a lot of COVID information. So yeah, I have learned a whole lot during these last 5 weeks working for Decode. These were just some of the main ones. A lot of the things that I learned, like I said, are like healthcare related. So I have a bunch of knowledge up here about different healthcare related things, and I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, those are the 5 things that I've learned in my last 5 weeks of working with Decode. Thank you guys for sitting down and just listening to me share these things that I've learned. So yeah, I would really appreciate it if you guys want to give this a thumbs up, and if you have any tips or tricks that you've learned from working from home, or if you have anything you want to talk about in your adventure with your first full-time job like I am, leave them down in the comments, and you know, hit that subscribe button if you want to as well. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, thanks guys, and have a great day. Bye.